Welcome to The Debate, where we illuminate different perspectives on substantive issues. Today, we delve into the heart of the Inca civilization, specifically the truly enigmatic site of Machu Picchu. Now, while it's universally recognized as an architectural marvel, its ultimate purpose, well, that remains a subject of rich academic discussion. It really raises questions about what truly drove its creation. So, we'll explore whether Machu Picchu's primary function was a testament to the Incas' advanced engineering prowess and urban planning, or if it was fundamentally a sacred spiritual and astronomical center. My position rests on the foundational identity of Machu Picchu as first and foremost an engineering triumph.
And I'll be highlighting its paramount role as what I see as a profound spiritual and ceremonial hub. It really is a fascinating challenge, isn't it, to try and uncover the true essence of this site. I'm eager to delve into these layers of meaning with you.
Absolutely. So from my perspective, Machu Picchu stands first and foremost as a grand demonstration of Inca engineering and urban planning. I mean, the Incas managed to establish and sustain a thriving settlement in an incredibly challenging Andean environment. The sheer structural integrity, the sophisticated infrastructure, it just speaks volumes about their priorities. Okay, so consider, for instance, the masonry, right? The precision is just almost unbelievable, often called impossible precision. We're talking about these huge ashlar blocks, some weighing over 50 tons, precisely cut, fitted together so perfectly that, well, the saying goes, not even a knife blade can slide between them.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't merely for aesthetic appeal. X-ray analysis actually reveals a three-dimensional fitting, meticulously optimizing load distribution for, unparalleled structural integrity. Modern engineers still marvel at, and frankly struggle to replicate, this feat without our contemporary tools. This level of precision wasn't just impressive, it was integral to creating robust, long-lasting structures. Then there's the site's remarkable earthquake-resistant design, which further underscores this engineering priority. Peru is a highly seismically active zone, right? And the Incas responded with really ingenious solutions. Flexible joints between blocks, trapezoidal doorways, windows, and niches, and these inward-leaning, battered walls. These features directly address the constant threat of seismic activity, providing a structural stability that has allowed their buildings to suffer minimal damage over centuries. It's a stark contrast to many Spanish colonial buildings nearby.
Right.
Beyond stability, the advanced water management system is a testament to sustainable urban planning. You've got a network of canals and, I think, 16 ornamental fountains still functioning perfectly after over 500 years, providing something like 3,000 gallons of water per day from a spring on Huayna Picchu. This, coupled with a comprehensive drainage network, absolutely vital for managing over 80 inches of annual rainfall, ensured the settlement's sustainability and prevented catastrophic flash flooding or erosion. Even the choice of location, sitting on fault lines, as suggested by some recent 2019 research, well, it might have been a deliberate engineering decision. It provided readily available fractured rock for building materials and offered natural defenses with its deep precipices. And let's not overlook the extensive agricultural terraces, covering about, 4.9 hectares? These were a work of considerable engineering in themselves, designed not just for farming, but also crucial for drainage, preventing erosion, and mitigating landslides on those steep slopes. All of this, to me, points to a monumental effort focused on creating a functional, enduring city.
I see why you emphasize the engineering prowess, and truly, it's a staggering achievement, no question. But I come at it from a slightly different angle. While the engineering brilliance of Machu Picchu is undeniable, I contend that it was first and foremost a profound, sacred, spiritual, and astronomical center. Its impressive engineering, which I fully acknowledge, primarily served these deeply integrated religious and cosmological objectives. The entire site, in my view, functioned almost as a giant astronomical observatory. Take, for instance, the Inti stone. This carved stone isn't simply a marker. It seems to precisely track solar movements throughout the year. It's famously interpreted as tying the sun at the winter solstice. And crucially, this stone also aligns with prominent sacred mountains, the Apu, like Viracocha, Salcante, and Huayna Picchu. So it integrates celestial observations with the spiritual landscape, making the very land part of the sacred experience. And specific structures throughout the site really reinforce this celestial focus. The Temple of the Sun, for example, with its unique semicircular wall and 2 strategically positioned windows, it's designed to precisely frame the winter solstice sunrise. That's not accidental. Similarly, the Room of the 3 Windows aligns with the rising of the Southern Cross constellation. These features weren't incidental or secondary. They required incredibly precise surveying and mathematical calculations to achieve such exact astronomical alignments. Even the Inca's hydraulic engineering, while undeniably impressive for practical purposes, was deeply integrated with sacred functions. Water held immense spiritual significance in Inca culture, believed to be a conduit between worlds, Features like the Temple of the Sun's water elements, they likely enhanced astronomical observations and provided sacred spaces for ritual cleansing. Some water features, in fact, seem designed primarily for ceremonial use, optimized for ritual activities rather than simply maximum practical efficiency. And consider the Inti Machai cave. It's designed with this unique tunnel-like window that allows sunlight into the cave only during a few days around the December solstice, specifically for observing the royal feast of the sun and noble boys' initiation rites. This exemplifies a structure built entirely for ceremonial purpose and precise celestial observation, not really for general utility. All of this suggests a profound worldview where gods and spirits and natural features, the huacas, dictated the very design and orientation of the site, making it essentially a living temple.
That's an interesting point about the integration, though I would frame it, well, differently. While I readily acknowledge the spiritual and astronomical elements present at Machu Picchu, I argue they are more accurately understood as enhancements, perhaps, to an inherently functional and structurally sound city. The sheer scale and complexity of construction point overwhelmingly to habitation and practical state management as the foundational drivers. We're talking about a robust, practical city supporting an estimated, 750 residents, many of whom were support staff, artisans, maybe some soldiers at its peak occupation. Consider the immense logistics involved in just sustaining such a population in this remote, high-altitude location. Moving massive stones, some over 50 tons from quarries miles away without wheeled vehicles, then shaping them with such precision. This required not just engineering skill, but extraordinary organization, planning, and labor management on a state level.
Sure, the logistics are impressive.
Exactly. And the extensive agricultural terraces, covering about 4.9 hectares. Now, okay, they weren't enough to sustain the entire population without imports from surrounding valleys, but they were still a considerable engineering feat, vital for local food production, drainage, and landslide prevention. This fundamental need for basic sustenance and efficient organization in a challenging, high-altitude environment, that had to be paramount. The fact that they successfully built and sustained such a complex urban center here, with its sophisticated infrastructure for water, waste management, defense, it suggests that the primary purpose was to create a habitable, functional, and defensible settlement for a significant population. The spiritual aspects were undoubtedly layered upon this functional foundation, giving it deeper meaning, absolutely. But the foundation itself feels practical, survival, and state control. If it were solely a ceremonial hub, would it really require such a massive, self-sustaining infrastructure for long-term habitation?
I see the logic. I do concede the engineering brilliance and the scale of the undertaking, but I would emphasize that its application was fundamentally guided by spiritual principles and cosmological understanding, rather than being merely an added layer. The precision without tools you rightly highlight wasn't just for durability, you see. It allowed for those exact astronomical alignments we discussed. The meticulous planning of water features, even for practical purposes like drainage and supply, often had a dual ceremonial use, as we see with the ornamental fountains. Water, as I mentioned, held deep spiritual significance, a life-giving force, a conduit to the divine. Its flow and distribution were often integrated with ritual cleansing and astronomical observations, effectively transforming practical hydrology into, well, sacred geography. And even practical choices like the earthquake-resistant architecture could align perfectly with an Inca worldview that sought harmony with divine order and natural forces. For the Incas, the physical world and the spiritual realm were profoundly inseparable. They believed gods and spirits resided in natural phenomena. Therefore, structural integrity wasn't just about engineering for its own sake, but about building in a way that respected and was integrated with these sacred principles. The engineering was a sophisticated means to achieve sacred ends, making the entire site a living embodiment of their spiritual cosmology. To suggest it was primarily functional with spirituality as an enhancement, I feel it risks imposing a modern, sort of Western separation of church and state onto a culture where such a distinction just didn't really exist in the same way. How can we truly delineate practical from sacred in a society where every aspect of life, from farming to governance, was imbued with spiritual meaning?
Well, I'm not entirely convinced by the idea that there's absolutely no distinction, even within a holistic worldview. While I agree that for the Inca, the spiritual permeated everything, the architectural innovations at Machu Picchu, like the trapezoidal doorways, windows, and those inward-leaning, battered walls, these seem primarily pragmatic responses to the very real and constant threat of seismic activity. These were direct, engineered solutions for structural stability in a seismically active region, likely refined through centuries of experience. Their consistent, widespread use throughout the site suggests a standardized, practical approach to building for resilience. It's a testament to empirical observation and engineering problem solving. And while the Inti stone is clearly a ritual object, its precise function as a solar calendar gnomon, the part of a sundial that casts a shadow, is actually debated by many scholars.
Some reject that popular idea altogether.
That's true. There is debate on the exact function.
Right. Instead, they propose it may have been used for horizontal solar observations or primarily for aligning with sacred mountains, integrating the landscape rather than purely devotional, calendar-based astronomy. The ultimate proof, for me, of their practical design and engineering priority is the simple fact of their survival. These structures have endured for over 500 years, suffering minimal damage from countless earthquakes. That demonstrates the unequivocal success of their structural design, independent of any specific spiritual interpretation we might place on it today. Their longevity speaks for itself, a tangible outcome of masterful engineering for necessity.
That's a compelling argument regarding the pragmatism of earthquake-resistant design, yes. But I still believe it misses the fundamental point of primacy. Have you considered that these architectural marvels are perhaps inextricable from their astronomical and spiritual purpose? Because the very precision you laud in the masonry and architectural forms actually enabled these exact celestial connections. The Temple of the Sun's semicircular wall and precisely positioned windows, for example, they aren't merely robust structures. They are designed to perfectly frame the winter solstice sunrise. That demonstrates engineering explicitly in service of exact astronomical observation and the rituals associated with it.
The Inti stone, look, regardless of its precise mnemonic function, was undeniably positioned to interact with the sun during the winter solstice, and its alignment with sacred peaks held profound symbolic significance within a sacred landscape, linking the earthly and divine realms in a very tangible way.
Furthermore, the existence of highly specialized buildings like the Inti cave, designed with that unique tunnel-like window to allow sunlight in only during several days around the December solstice, and which would have been inaccessible or unused for much of the rest of the year, that strongly proves, I think, that spiritual function dictated not just placement, but the specific, complex architectural design. These are not merely practical features with an added spiritual dimension. They seem to be precise instruments for connecting with the cosmos, where engineering was the language used to articulate sacred intent and facilitate rituals. The very reason for such an elaborate and precise construction, even for something as practical as a wall, could be rooted in a desire to build a structure that was perfect in a cosmic sense, in harmony with the divine order, rather than just, merely functional. Well, let's consider the broader context, too. While acknowledging Inca spirituality was deeply integral to their society, it also undeniably served a significant socio-political function. It was a powerful tool for the ruling class to consolidate power and, frankly, justify Inca superiority over conquered peoples. The state religion, focusing on Inti, the sun god, received vast resources. Think about it. A third of conquered lands and animals, thousands of highly respected female priests, the Aclapuna, trained in specialized crafts. This massive, centralized investment can certainly be interpreted as a strategic political and economic investment, using religion to unify and control a vast, diverse empire, rather than solely an outpouring of pure spiritual fervor. Machu Picchu's very grandeur projected power and divine sanction for the Inca state.
Okay, but was it just a tool?
Well, look at the construction itself. It further demonstrates the practical, economic, and sophisticated project management behind such an endeavor. The Mita labor system, which required communities to contribute thousands of workers for state projects, whether building roads, irrigation systems, or major administrative centers like Machu Picchu, was a system that prioritized state objectives. Managing these enormous labor forces, providing food and shelter, scheduling material deliveries to remote mountain sites, this suggests advanced logistical and administrative skills were absolutely paramount for a state-driven enterprise. This feels like a highly efficient, controlled system prioritizing utilitarian, state-managed purposes. Even if those purposes were, yes, cloaked in religious ideology, it reflects a powerful empire consolidating its infrastructure and influence.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that it was merely a tool for control, or that there was such a clear separation between the sacred and the secular that allowed religion to be strategically cloaked over utilitarian needs. Let me tell you why. The truly integral nature of Inca religion meant there was simply no real separation between these two realms in their worldview. Every aspect of life, political power, social hierarchy, economic activities like farming, even the construction of cities, was believed to be deeply influenced by gods and ancestors. Appeasing these divine beings was absolutely essential for success, for the fertility of crops, for military victories, for avoiding disasters like droughts and earthquakes. You just have to look at the immense resources dedicated to the Coricancha, the Temple of the Sun in Cusco, famously covered in sheets of gold, housing shrines to various deities and mummified rulers. That demonstrates the paramount value placed on the divine, not just as a political instrument, but as genuine, pervasive belief system that permeated every fiber of society.
But the resources still served the state.
Yes, but the state was religious, and religion was the state in a way. The existence of a strong hierarchical priesthood and widespread divination practices, which guided major actions and decisions, from diagnosing illnesses and predicting battles to determining propitious times for farming or the exact nature of offerings. This just underscores how spiritual concerns permeated every level of Inca life and construction. Moreover, the Inca worldview saw gods and spirits in specific natural features, the huacas, mountains, rivers, peculiar stones. The very setting of Machu Picchu, high in the Andes, and deliberately incorporating these sacred huacas into its design, that wasn't an accident. It was a choice that reinforced its profound spiritual significance. Machu Picchu, then, wasn't just a marvel of engineering or state-managed project. It was a grand manifestation of this holistic worldview, where every stone, every alignment, and every practical function was imbued with spiritual significance, making its purpose fundamentally sacred and intertwined with the very cosmology of their existence.
Today's discussion, I think, powerfully illustrates that at its heart, Machu Picchu stands as a monumental testament to the Inca civilization's extraordinary capabilities. I still maintain that the site fundamentally showcases the Incas' unparalleled engineering and urban planning achievements, their sheer ability to establish and sustain a sophisticated settlement that effectively addressed the practical challenges of a harsh terrain, from the enduring structural integrity against seismic activity to the complex water management and agricultural infrastructure. It all points to a primary function rooted in practical design and long-term sustainability for, likely, a significant population.
And I certainly agree that it showcases extraordinary capabilities. However, I continue to emphasize that while the engineering is undeniably brilliant, its masterful application was consistently subordinate to and deeply integrated with the profound spiritual and cosmological beliefs of the Inca. The site's numerous astronomical alignments, the ceremonial water features, the specialized structures designed explicitly for rituals, these indicate to me that its ultimate purpose was a sacred one, deeply connected to the divine and the natural world, with engineering serving as the intricate means to achieve those sacred ends.
Our discussion today really highlights the incredible synthesis, doesn't it? The synthesis of practical and spiritual elements in Inca design. It suggests that for the Incas, these two aspects were not distinct, perhaps, but deeply interwoven in a way that maybe our modern perspectives often struggle to fully grasp. There's clearly much more to explore in understanding this magnificent site.
Indeed. And we encourage our listeners to further explore the rich layers of history and meaning embedded within Machu Picchu, perhaps pondering how ancient civilizations so seamlessly integrated their technological prowess with their spiritual understanding. Thank you for joining us on The Debate.